just talk about any of those previous relationships or previous stops, I guess, where you had interactions with Shane Beamer, what you remember about him then. And then when you heard he got the job or saw he got the job, I guess, how excited were you, and just your overall thoughts on Gamecocks football with him leading the charge?
Yeah, so just the context is I was a student at Tennessee when he was a grad assistant for Fulmer at Tennessee. And we've talked about it, like we were probably around each other, but I really didn't get to know him that well. But in 07, it was my first year on the beat. I don't remember when he had come in from Mississippi State at that point, but he was somebody that I connected to because of that experience at Tennessee. And then he and I got pretty close, and we went on a couple of like little area golf trips together, and got to know his family, and was around when his kids were born and growing up. And now it's crazy to see how old, not relatively old, how grown up they are, I'll say. But here's what I'll say about Shane is, and I don't profess to know how this is going to go because it's the SEC and it's really hard and it doesn't work out for most people. But I think what Gamecock fans can hang their hats on is that this is a genuinely good person. And this is someone who has been at SEC stops in Virginia Tech and Oklahoma and has not lost his way about who he is. And to your question about how I felt when he got the job, I made a point in the first month or so. I went down, I texted him and I went down and I just got in front of him and I just said, "This is really cool, man. Like, it's cool to see you in this chair. It's cool to see you in this position because you deserve it." And he was somebody who wanted to be a head coach for a long time. Obviously had following the success of his dad, he wanted to be in that seat. And I think he wanted to know what it was like to run a program with a lot of the same ethical backbone that his dad had, and run it in an ethically sound way and run it his way and run it genuinely, authentically, and personally. So, he was ready. It was probably overdue for him. I think there were some group of five type opportunities over the years. I remember him talking with him about FAU, I think at one point in time when they hired someone else. I know I think Charlie Partridge was the guy who got hired at that point in time, but he had put in and, waited his turn. And this exact opportunity at this time was sort of made for him because I think people wanted to feel connection to that successful period in 09, 10, 11, 12. And I think he understood that. Shane understood how to meet them in that place and say, yeah, I mean, we're not going to be able to get it exactly like it was then, but because of the facilities, because of the advances that we made around here, we got a chance to compete and be successful. And I think the best news, again, is you can feel has nothing to do with Will Muschamp or anybody before, but I know Shane as well as I know any coach in America, and who he is who he is. And I think that isn't always the case with coaches, and especially in the SEC. I think you get people and it's big business and they kind of lose their way. That's not Shane. And I'm counting on it never being Shane. And I'll call his ass out on it if it ever is. And he'll have friends who will do the same thing. But this is a really good human being, and you can feel good about the direction of the program just based on that alone.